On a sunny day, it really doesn't get much better than the golf course in Los Santos. And that's why she begged the management, please can I photograph my new car on the green? Okay, they said, but do not make a mess of the grass. Well, we'll see about that later. Welcome back to the channel. The subject of this week's showcase is the Ferrari SF90 Stradale, which basically translates to Ferrari's 90th anniversary road car. Well, it's a plug-in hybrid, so it's great for the environment. Maybe, it's 800 horsepower from a V8 and 200 more from the electric motors, so maybe not. As soon as the car was ready, she had it delivered to German tuners Novitec so they could work their magic on the car. That's how you see it presented here. They add about another 30 horsepower through the exhaust system, fit some nice carbon fibre bits to the outside, then they make quite a change to the aesthetic of the car by fitting some really rather nice 21-inch forged alloys. This car doesn't always receive the highest praise, primarily because there's so much going on. It's not perhaps the world's most involving driver's car. However, it's a game, and the game is called the Itali RSX, and it's a really fun driver's car, I have to say. It looks good. You have, of course, the active spoiler going up and down, which always adds something, and a reasonable noise, some little pops and farts from the exhaust. There's only one downside, we'll perhaps see this again when we get to the race part, but that is, whilst you can ride over the pavements quite happily a lot of the time and the car is not deflected, there's just that odd time where for almost no reason you just lose so much grip. Here's one, and you get a big sideways moment. You might even get a spin. That is the one thing around town that can be a little off-putting with the car. Well, onto our so-called hot lap, or not so hot. I had 23 attempts at getting a decent lap with this car. On a lot of them we had this sort of thing here where the car would bounce over a bump, lose the ability to brake, and you crash. Or if you didn't crash, you would get like this corner here where you're severely deflected. You manage to catch it. It looks glorious, but of course lose a lot of time. So for the next 30 seconds you can watch some sample parts from the blooper reel, if you like. Sometimes it rides the pavement fine, and sometimes a bump deflects the car so much that it's game over. Now eventually I learnt the bits of the track to miss, and it finally all came together in one quite reasonable lap. When I did the showcase for the Itali GTO, which is top of the sports car pile, I didn't do this sort of lap. So I pulled it out for this video. I did just 4 laps, not 23, just 4, and already managed to beat the time for this car. So let's compare the two of them. So the GTO or the 812 Superfast on the left, the RSX or the SF90 on the right. From memory, the GTO is also deflected by bumps and things, so I wasn't expecting this to be quite so clear-cut. But the reality was that yes, whilst it might have bit hop a bit, it just rode all the pavements, all those surfaces without really any problem. Whereas with the RSX, I have to admit a huge amount of relief at actually managing to get round a lap without spearing off sideways one way or the other. And despite the extra 20 laps, you can see I was in fact half a second quicker in the GTO than the RSX. And if you look at the lap tables by people who test this stuff properly, you'll see a sort of similar result. If you saw my last garage tour, then this is how you would have last seen the car. As you can tell, I was going for a very standard factory look on this. The only downside is that little grey strip above the skirt on the in-game car. That's because you need to choose that sort of colour as a secondary in order to get the wheels to go that colour, which is a little frustrating. Obviously, to do some other tuner's version of the car is therefore a little bit easier. You can see the choices I made on the screen here. What I haven't shown is it's simply black paint, black pearlescent and black secondary, and all the performance parts are at maximum, as is the armour. The rest is stock. As she heads off up the coast road in this stunning hypercar for a quick blast at sunset, it's time for us to rate the car. I'm definitely going 5 stars for looks. There's little detail changes as always, but it's a pretty good representation of the SF90. For driving, I give it 3 stars. It is a fun car to drive around town, bits of oversteer, pop spangs, etc. But it is not a race winner. You can buy the GTO for less money to win races, and it's actually a nicer car to drive on the road, I find, as well. So 3 stars for that, and only 2 stars for value. Even with trade price, it's a very expensive car, and it just doesn't quite deliver well enough on the driving front. This video was a viewer request, and if there's a car you'd like me to cover, please let me know down below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching.